this business didn't exist 5 years ago.
Every corner's got this really nice new car wash and it's all lit up inside. And
you're along for the ride hoping that they can make this business work and not implode.
You're essentially buying a bond. If the tenant goes away, this guaranteed cash flow obviously goes away.
Welcome to another edition of Real Estate Anonymous Podcast. We're taking a look at a car wash in West Nyack. Eric absolutely hates everything about it. Brett is a fan and also teaches us a new broker term called gray collar, and he'll explain what that nonsense means. And we get into why this is more of a business and car wash deal than it is a real estate investment. Hope you enjoy. All right. Good morning. Welcome back into Real Estate Anonymous Podcast. I was laughing myself right before we started recording. Brett had to go to the bathroom, and then Eric said I should probably go, and then I thought I should go because the three of us are old enough that we can't hang on for a 30-minute podcast. So it was like just three decrepit gentlemen who are like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Gents, how's your week?
Car wash. We're talking car washes today.
We know what the theme music will be on this for the intro. In the car wash.
We are talking car washes.
I know. I did.
Now you're really dating.
We got, this interesting deal here. Spark Car Wash that we're going to review. It's what looks to be a new car wash. The OM says it was built in 1984. That doesn't sound correct to me looking at this thing. We've got a car wash in West Nyack, New York, just a little bit outside of Manhattan. Triple net, so we'll kind of talk through this one. The reason I thought this would be interesting to talk about today is we had the Fed meeting yesterday, so we're recording this on May 2nd. Jerome Powell was on TV yesterday. The Fed held rates flat. There's no rate hikes, no increases as a result of yesterday's meeting. But some of what he was talking about I thought was interesting. The first was he made it pretty clear that rate hikes seemed to be off the table, which I think was just a signal that he wanted to send to the market, that nothing in what they're seeing now indicates that they're going to need to hike rates again. But he wasn't quite as aggressive on committing to any cuts at the future meetings, which I think he previously signaled, I think we're going to be looking at some cuts. His tone was cuts are on the table, provided that we see some of the things that we need to see. And I think the message was pretty carefully delivered that we don't feel like hiking. We would like to cut if it makes sense. I think the message there was to try and put a little bit of optimism in the market. Anyway, the reason I think this car wash is interesting is because it's a triple net lease. And so all a triple net lease is basically a play against interest rates. I mean, you've got some building that you own that generates cash flows and there's some reversion value and there's lots of things there, but there's no, what your increases are going to be, what your expenses are, everything is sort of fixed. And so you're choosing to invest in this car wash for some spread above the 10-year. And with the decision on rates yesterday, I thought this would be an interesting one to talk about. So before we jump in, you gents have anything you want to go over? Well,
car wash has become this industry, like this business didn't exist 5 years ago. It's gone everywhere. I think these are. I've got a pal that does them. He's had some success with it. It's very competitive. What these guys are paying for sites is incredible. They, for years it was Walgreens and CVS and the drugstores that were paying top dollar for busy intersections, and they've gone through a phase of being displaced by, believe it or not, these car washes that are paying incredible amounts. Let's dig into this one. What do they want for this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I saw when I was down in Texas, and Brett, this is probably true in Orlando, car washes are everywhere. I mean, every corner's got this really nice new car wash and it's all lit up inside and it's glass and you can see all this stuff happening. It's less common up here in New England, I think, just because the weather is so shitty for a good chunk of the year that you don't have 12 months to make your money. You have 7 months to make your money. And so it just sort of seems a little bit thinner.
I can't even imagine paying $500,000 in rent for a car wash. Running a car wash, being on the tenant side of this deal.
Could you imagine doing $4.5 million in revenue out of that space? I mean, I guess that's got to be right. Like 10% of your operating cost here, maybe. I don't know what the numbers are. It could be higher, but you assume
Yeah,
they're moving some
insane.
cars through there.
Insane.
And so you got an acre and a half. It's a brand new car wash. I do think the OM is wrong when it says year renovated 1984. This looks like a brand new building, and it's a 21-year lease. It's triple net lease. So tenant's responsible for anything and everything. You got 2% renewal increases that start in year 6. So there's some lift, but it's certainly below what you'd hope for. And acre and a half. I don't know, but is this interesting to us? Is this a thing that we would buy? I mean, I guess everything's got a price, right?
So an acre and a half of land in West Nyack, New York. If you started with a baseline of that, getting to something that's $6.5 million on a single purpose building is a bridge too far for me. But the interesting thing, a tiny bit about car washes, as opposed to other net lease buildings, like say a drive-through Dutch Brothers or something like that, is there seems to be because these things that somebody else could use the building. If Spark Car Washes Inc. folded, there's not an insignificant chance that there's some other car wash that would take over the building and use it in its existing condition.
Exactly. Yeah. If Spark goes
use
under,
the equipment,
someone's
use the
there.
whole thing. Yeah.
Right. You're just washing
that's
cars.
One thing that's, but this, go back to your initial statement, you're betting on the ability for Spark Car Wash to pay you for the next 20 years. And that rate is good because you're trying to lock in some sort of long-term financing, because you don't want to get this building back. You don't want to end up owning this thing without a tenant and having to go through that whole exercise that we just started. So, to me, this is all going to go back to who in the hell is
totally agree with that. I mean, these triple net.
Yeah. What do we know about them? Here you go, about Spark Car Wash.
So what you're really doing with these triple net deals is I think we mentioned this in a prior podcast, but you're essentially buying a bond of the tenant here. So if the tenant goes away, this guaranteed cash flow obviously goes away if they end up filing BK and there's no assets here.
Yeah, this tells you all you need to know. This is a team of highly experienced car wash experts. I don't doubt that. In addition to the 5 locations, They have 26 under contract and 8 under exclusive LOIs. So they've got 5 of them. They're building 34 more of these damn things. You're along for the ride, hoping that they can make this business work and not implode. No, thank you.
Growth seems like a good thing on the surface, but ultimately is the kiss of death for so many that grow too quickly.
Really? Wow. It's really crazy. And this these type businesses, I'd be curious to see who the seller is here. A lot of these growth concepts, it's not a horrible idea if you're on the other side of this trade, but a lot of these things, a company like this team of highly experienced car wash experts will go out, find a site, use a bank loan, build their facility, then sign a new lease with themselves at some much higher rate, sell it into the net lease market at some, crazy spread. So let's just say they bought this piece of land. I don't know that this is the case, but this kind of thing happens where somebody, an enterprising group, might buy an acre of land in West Nyack, New York. Let's say they paid, $1.5 million for it. They spent $3 million on the improvements, so they're in it for $4.5 million. They sign a lease with themselves for $457,000 a year, and then put it on the market at 7 cap. Hope they get it, and if they do, they've got $6.5 million. They've made $2 million that they use to sort of fuel the growth of their next site. So I don't know if that's happening here, but wouldn't surprise me, and sort of an interesting sidelight of how these things work sometimes. And I think the kind of deals that you want to give a wide berth to, if you can spot them.
Well, one of the other things I'd jump in here and say is that the car wash business, from my perspective, and far from a pro on this industry, but I think they're really positioning this as being in a very affluent community. I'm not sure that's true or not, but if it's outside of New York City, it probably is true. But it does seem like a lot of the car wash locations in the state of Florida are catering more to kind of the gray collar cohort of the population there for whatever reason, whether it's the gray collar subset of the population tends to put a lot of care into their cars, and I think somewhere between blue collar and white collar.
Old?
I don't know how to define that, but it sounded okay.
Brokers, man. I knew you were going to make up some term
things,
like gray collar. This is the first time. Yeah. Okay. It's a basis play for gray collar
individuals. Is
that
kind of the politically correct? I don't know how to describe that. The middle class. Okay. Middle class.
I don't know, man. All right.
Yeah. Right.
I don't even know who they are.
Yeah. But they're out there.
Here.
This is where how you know Brett's a broker.
What's going on?
All right, gents, maybe this will matter to you. Let's think about a couple of things here. I would bet you that if Spark Car Wash goes to zero, you can find a new car wash tenant at or close-ish to this rent. But I'm going to assume if it's, let's say they go bust halfway through, they're paying $500,000 a year. I'm going to bet that you are out maybe $1 million or $1.5 million to replace them. Because I bet you there's going to be some TI, there's going to be some stuff that needs to get fixed. A car wash operator is going to see your empty car wash and know they have you over a barrel. So they're going to say, well, Brett, I'll take your space, but you got to fix this tunnel and give me new dryers or whatever. You're out maybe a year's worth of rent. And then presumably there's some commission and some legal fee associated with getting that new group in there. So I would bet you've got $1 million to $1.5 million worth of sunk costs on this investment if they leave. Let's start with that first premise. You guys think that is reasonable?
Yeah. And also by saying that you're in the equipment business, by doing this, as opposed to owning a warehouse building and having 4 walls and a roof, that's a much different thing than having this very specialized business. This car wash is not going to be a restaurant. It's not going to be an office. It's not going to be anything other than a car wash without an incredible amount of investment to it. So you got to decide, do I want to be in the car wash business? A, or B, is the credit behind this so pristine that I don't care? And I think we answered the second question. So if you're buying this, you're getting in the car wash business.
If you're buying this, you're in the car wash business. And here's another thing for us to think about. You've got a 21-year lease schedule here. We're in year 20 now. So you've got 20 years. And let me just delete this last line of income. Okay. The total cash flow over the hold period is $10,205,000. So you're going in for $6.5 million. You're going to collect a little over $10 million in cash flow. You've maybe got $1.5 million in risk in case this doesn't work out either midterm or towards the end. And so you'll get your capital back out of cash flow. I don't know if that's the return you want or return you don't want, but then at the end, on a long enough timeline, what happens? Is this acre of land with a now older car wash on it, is that worth something to you? Can you sell that for $6.5 million? Is the residual value of the land worth your initial investment and the $10 million in cash flow goes in your pocket? Or is there some negative economic value to this and your $10 million is maybe not as dependable as you'd like?
Yeah, and this aerial is great. A lot of green space.
So this is, what are we looking at here? Where 87 hits Route 303, tons of retail, Palisades Town Center, a lot of retail, a lot of car dealerships. There's lots of stuff. The weird weakness that I would think about with these car washes is that so much of the appeal is the newness and it looks fancy and it's got all these flashing lights. And so if someone puts up a newer car wash in 8 years, I guess it's the operator's problem, but if they can't operate, it becomes your problem. And then you got to modernize it.
But anytime, when I look at this aerial, I see, I see all these trees. It's either it needs to be super affluent and this is a highly protected area, or it's kind of the place that growth skipped over. couple things that stick out to me. I don't know Palisades Center, but I see a mall that's got, Home Depot at one end, and none of the department stores listed. Probably that's a mall that's the rest of it has struggled. If it, and it tells me a little bit more about the area there. I see a lot of undeveloped land
There's not
in this
not a
picture.
lot of cars in the parking
So
lot
this is a
right here.
picture of the
Sunday
mall
noon. So
with,
hopefully this is Monday morning at like 10 a.m.
Yeah.
yeah. So I look at this and I think this is pretty lame. So if I'm going back to your point, if this was a like the one that we did a few episodes ago, the strip center down in Austin, that's got some terrific dirt underneath it. This to me seems like, just based on the aerial, with the lack of development that's happened, with the that it's in where it is in the Northeast, I have a hard time getting excited at a macro level about this kind of land. So if I got the land back, I'm not excited to do something else with it. I don't know what that would be. So I'm getting in the car wash business with this startup company.
Yeah, I wonder how much of the lack of development is a lack of interest, and how much of it is just developing in West Nyack, New York, is damn near impossible. I mean, I'm one thing that I'm seeing that they tried to kind of cover up with the Spark Car Wash logo on the surrounding area aerial view. That looks like a landfill to me.
Right.
So it looks like your parcel, not directly abuts, but pretty much abuts a landfill. And it looks like they're entering through the road next to your parcel.
Well, I think that's an attempt at great brokerage work there.
Yeah, so you can wash off the dump
Attempt at
truck
great
right
brokerage
back out.
work.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
what I would suggest from a packaging standpoint is moving the logo of Spark up higher so it totally covered the landfill.
So it covers the car wash. Yeah, right. Does seem like that's the low hanging fruit here. Have it cover the
That's
landfill.
the pro.
Yeah.
Brett's no rookie on
Don't worry about
disingenuity.
What's under that logo, Brett?
So
Nothing to
it was
see
a foul
here.
up in our packaging. Our bad. Can we come for its
Yeah,
more?
sorry
No, you
about
can't.
that.
You can submit an LOI though.
All right. So if you were going to do this, to me, I'd really want to get into the understanding the mechanisms of, car washes themselves. This is far less a real estate deal and much more about an operating business thing. The value of that equipment and the depreciation of it, et cetera. We met with a grocery store yesterday, one of the leading chains in the country. As an aside, they 4 years ago, when they built out a store, the equipment that they put in their store cost them on average $3.5 million. 4 years later, the equipment that they put in their store now costs $10 million. Same equipment. That's an example of the kind of inflation that's happening in this sort of a thing. So I'd like to understand how that worked in the car wash business. How long does this stuff last? What do you have to pay for it? Is there any intrinsic value to having this stuff that you've got piled up on the site? If not, because it's not a real estate deal. This is a car wash deal.
Yeah, agreed. I'm always skeptical of, you can see they have in this offering memorandum a depreciation overview. And I think it's fine in theory, I guess, to talk about how depreciation works, but to have that in the deck as a reason for making the buy is something I'd be very skeptical of.
So I did jot this note down, Elliot, on that point, even before flipping through the OM. And I think there's some tax benefits if you're in the real estate business. I know there's a fair amount of brokers that go in and buy these car washes, because since you're in the real estate business, this is a accelerated depreciation play. And maybe that was more important when brokers were making a lot of money. So I think it's kind of a tax haven for a lot of folks and that are in the commercial real estate.
Right. But that's true about all real estate. Like, that's not uniquely true about Spark.
But these single tenant,
these car washes do get on they get a different schedule, because a lot of that equipment can be depreciated faster. So you can lump lump that in up front. And that's sort of the story that they're telling.
That's
here.
what they're
Your
going
point
for here. You
is,
got it. So your real estate and
you-
your fixtures are going to depreciate on different schedules.
yeah, and your point is that that's not a real estate deal. That's a tax deal.
Yeah.
So the other way to think about car washes are as a getting in the car wash business or looking at ways to not pay taxes on some other real estate issue that you got or some other income that you got.
A lot of these car washes are switching to this monthly subscription model. I'd be curious to know what percentage of your customers have a monthly deal and what percentage are just paying when they need a car wash.
Yeah, more of car wash business to see if this is a viable location. For if you get it back, what are you going to do with it? Which is always the question with these sort of
monthly subscription thing is kind of like the gym membership in a lot of ways, right? Where they're hoping you subscribe on a monthly basis, use it a couple times, and then don't use it again for 12 months before you realize you're paying for it monthly, which seems genius to me.
Yeah, that's
right.
Planet Fitness. And the thing with Planet Fitness is no one's like, oh, well, I'm going to cancel because it's $10. If you're going to cancel because it's $10, people aren't going to admit that to themselves and say, I care so little about my health that I'd rather have the $10. So, and whenever people think about canceling, they go, Jesus Christ, it's only $10. So Planet Fitness, that's their business. It's like, come in, show up for pizza night and get the fuck out and never come back.
Eat the pizza, don't work out, and you're doing great.
And we're the tapeworm in your bank account taking $10 a month for the rest of your life.
So
fantastic.
That's probably the reason I'm rooting against Spark Car Wash. It's nothing to do with them. It's everything has become a subscription. Everything is some little microtransaction.
Yeah.
It makes me, my wife and
I think that could be a business too, because I know there's so many things like if you want to read an article, you gotta subscribe to this. Somebody sends you something to read, you got to subscribe to it. It's $1 or it's free, and then they hit you. I'd like to know how much money is coming out of my bank account.
You know what? Eric, I'm going to add some real value on this podcast. There's a thing called 12-foot ladder, number 12, ft.io. And it's a website where you can copy and paste the link that's hidden behind a paywall because publishers have to publish the clean version and then they lay the paywall over it. So the clean article is out there on the web waiting to be found. And 12-foot IO, 12-foot ladder, you copy and paste the website and you drop it in there. And I'll do it just out of principle because I'm not paying the Phoenix Business Journal $4 a month so that I can learn that Tides has lost their ass on another deal. So you can just drop it in and you can get that. That's a free, if you put up with however many episodes of our that's a free little nugget for you.
You're making money.
We should see if we can get a sponsorship from 12-foot after that plug, Elliot.
We should. Yeah. Well, let's get the producers on that. Ping up 12-foot ladder and see if we can get a subscription.
Let's get the staff on this thing. Okay. You've got to buy this thing. We've got to buy it. What are we going to pay?
I think this is north of 7, whether that's an 8 or a 9. I'm not exactly sure. But if you look again at the publicly traded REITs that target national or triple net deals, they are targeting somewhere between a 7 and an 8, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And without having any clue on the credit of Spark or the capital behind them, I'm a little leery of just the durability of cash flows to sound like a complete real estate nerd without understanding the credit of the operation or the operator.
I mean, they're asking a 7 now. I bet you if you came in at an 8, you'd find a sympathetic ear. I don't know. It kind of feels like there's some calculated risk there. You could get another tenant. I think the entry price at an 8 cap so they're asking $6.5 million. I bet if you came in an offer at 5.7, which is an 8 cap, maybe they try and get you closer to 6, but you're almost at an 8%. And what's your debt? You're getting 50% leverage here?
You probably get a little higher than that, if I had to guess.
And so you're kind of maybe flat on your debt. There seems to be decent cash flow over the hold, even if you subtract a couple of bucks for the re-tenanting risk. Do I think you can sell it at the end to get the dollars back that you put in? I don't know. That doesn't seem that crazy to me over a 20-year period. I guess the real challenge is you'd have to dig in and say, okay, do I want to put my equity into this thing? I mean, great, I might double or triple my equity, but it's going to take 20 years to do that. Is that really what I want to do?
At an 8% return.
Yeah, at an 8% return. Yeah, I think I'm coming in 5.5 to 5.7 and seeing what happens.
I'm at $1.5 million
Whoa.
and give them, I'm going to say that there's a McDonald's nearby. Land's probably worth $1.5 million. That's not fair. The site's been improved. There's a car wash on it. And I could change my mind, but given what I know about car washes, zero, I'm going to price it as such, and I'd give them $2.5 million for it. And I can close in 7
The broker
days
gets to put that on the bid sheet, so they get gold stars for LOIs. But I don't know if that dog is going to hunt.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't think that dog's going to hunt either.
I'll offer you 70 grand cash and close today.
So this is a rare one. I think we've got 3 buyers at some price. I think the office one we just did there, I was not really a buyer period, but a 10 cap sounded good. But this at some price, this works.
Well, I guess to clarify, I don't want to buy this.
I stand
all.
corrected.
This is not my business.
No
okay. Yeah. I don't know anything about the car wash business. You are getting into the car wash business. You're not just getting into the real estate business. I don't want to do that. There's a million reasons that I think this is all sort of fucked up and not worth it. But if I were a well-to-do cardiac surgeon or dentist and I thought I need to put some money somewhere to offset some other income, and this seems fine, and there's some cash flow, I don't know. I guess you could sort of see how you might arrive at a value. But I'm not a buyer.
I want to know these guys. I want to know the team of 5 highly experienced car wash experts. To me, being on that side of this trade would be cool if they in fact knew what they're doing. But to have a kind of that opco propco model of having an operating business that uses property and being able to be on the front side of that, to me that would be super appealing. And we've done that on the investing in food and beverage operators that are users and of property and being able to buy stuff with them in tow. I'd be super interested in coming at it from that angle of finding people that knew that were, if they were in fact experts in the car wash business, could occupy corners, could pay a lot of money for them. That'd be a neat side of the.
All right, so we've got 3-ish buyers. Maybe nobody really wants to own it. We'd like to understand the car wash business better, and maybe there's some personal tax financial engineering, which would be the motivating factors here.
I think that's right.
Well.
Okay, so we've got a wrap. Is that the pod?
This was another good podcast, and I'm glad that you two called me out on gray collar, since I probably made that term up. But Elliot used a term of getting bent over the barrel if the business goes out of, or if the current business goes out of business, and we won't ask him to explain what that means on the podcast. Is that fair?
Leave that one alone.
Okay.
That's fair.
Good stuff, guys.
All right, gents. This has been fun.